Harban's body shook with every impact. They were painful even in the noise-canceling bubble inside her helmet, and the shockwaves seemed to roll right through her organs. She felt sick, scared, desperate, but she was not confused. She knew exactly what would save her unit and her, and she knew exactly that that was one of the things they did not have. Air and orbital superiority. It was easy for the Conglomerate and that much harder for her own troops. Harban, her second-in-command, came crawling up to her as they were showered with another wave of dirt and debris. "If we don't get out of here, we're going to be torn up. What's the word from the lords? They're still cracking negotiating with the damned humans." She answered. "I thought they're supposed to be reliable." He yelled back. Dust spewed against his visor as a chunk of shrapnel skeet passed between them. Harban leaned back into her foxhole. "Lord Bray is trying to lowball them, I am sure. The humans know we're desperate. They would want to be paid up front. Cracking higher guns. This should never have happened. I know, but we're in this now. Let me see if screaming at command will motivate them a dash." She was cut off as a deafening boom and a rocking shockwave pressed her, her soldiers and all the remaining foliage around them, into the ground. She threw her head back to look at the sky and found the cause. In between the common sweeping, bulbous silhouettes of the Conglomerate cruisers, a different shape had appeared. It was blocky, long with a wedged front, and even from the ground, Harban could see its flanks alight as it spewed gunfire at the enemy ships around it. Her comset crackled to life. A shrill beep drilled into her eardrums for a short moment, making her grit her teeth. Then, disturbed by static, a voice came through. The accent was strange, abrupt, consonants too hard and vocals cut short, but her translator did the work. "All Gerunian forces currently planetside. This is RS Aaron's Hoop. We have established low orbit. TAS ready for tasking." Harban didn't know how one ship had been able to breach the blockade, or how they would be able to hold their position against the Conglomerate fleet, but she didn't care. She also decided to not give a damn about the chain of command and opened her transmitter to answer. "This is Captain Harban of the Gerunian Defense Forces. My platoon is currently suppressed by heavy fire from Conglomerate Vidare. Requesting support, air, orbital, anything." There was a short pause until she heard another beep and her comset switched channels seemingly by itself. A different voice came through even though the accent was the same. They sounded bored. "Captain Harban, we have 2 more requests in your area. Your support request is queued. Estimated waiting time is 240 seconds. Please stand by." For minutes, that was better than nothing. She leaned back and glanced upwards again, just in time to see a Conglomerate carrier break apart under a barrage of white missile trails. The Conglomerate's laser beams, meanwhile, left no visible damage and occasionally just dispersed on the airship's hull in rainbow-colored arches. "Captain, you have moved up in the queue." The bored voice came back through her headphones. "Ground attack craft is en route to your position. Please coordinate your strike directly with the unit. I will connect you to the pilot now." Before Harban could answer, a short burst of static told her that the channel had been switched again, and immediately the third voice began speaking. Calm, almost as bored-sounding as the previous one, but she had never been so happy to speak to a stranger. "Captain, this is November 24. Entering your AO in approximately 30 seconds. What do you need me to do?" It took Harban a moment to shake off her confusion about the quick succession of events, as well as conversation partners, but she caught herself quickly. "November, we have approximately 6 to 8 Conglomerate Vidare pinning us down. My position bearing 122. She turned to her second and gestured for a distance estimate. She just hoped that the translator would convert the units of measurement correctly. He held up his hand for her to see 2 outstretched fingers. "Approximately 2 kilometers from our position. On the mountain ridge." "Define the term Vidare, Captain." She cursed. Vidare was a proper noun with no actual translation. "Armored, tank. They're tanks. Artillery?" She hurriedly tried to clarify. "Turn tanks into coffins." "Understood, Captain." November confirmed, and even though Harban couldn't be sure, she thought she noticed a smidge of predatory excitement in the pilot's flat tone. Then, out of nothing, just as another bolt exploded just behind her platoon's line of foxholes. A terrible shrieking rapidly became louder and suddenly, with a thunderclap that shook the ground, a dark gray, triangular craft shot down from the sky, almost vertically and getting closer to the ground fast. When Harban already feared it would crash, it raised its nose and with impossible velocity, not higher than maybe 50 meters above the rocky ground, roared towards the mountains. Engaging! Harban couldn't quite place it, but she felt that the professional tone of November 24 was laced with a gleeful malice. Something caged in that cockpit that wanted out and wanted blood. Anti-air fire flailed uselessly at the craft as it charged forward. A missile, the only one that was on course, was avoided by slightly dipping one of the wings, as if sidestepping a pedestrian walking in the opposite direction. Guns, guns, guns. The ridge of the mountain vanished in a giant cloud of white smoke and yellow dust. 1.5 seconds later, the sound of the weapon fire and the impacts were audible to Harban and her soldiers as a dull echo in the distance. As November turned around in Harban's direction, she saw columns of black smoke rise up from where the Vidare had been. Around her, her whole platoon erupted in cheer. November 24, good hits, splash 8. No targets remaining. The operator on the ship returned to the conversation. For them, this was nothing special. The vanishing of at least 30 lives, even if they were Conglomerate, was ordinary to them.
Return to base volume for tasking. Wilco, Oracle. The pilot confirmed. Harban vetchet is a craft returned to tire positions. Strolling this time, compared to the match sprint it had performed to get to its prey. Inside the scorched and scratched canopy of the cockpit, Harban could see the pilot, faceless, waving lazily as T circled for just a bit. The anti-air guns of the Vidare had tried tire hardest, but this craft was made to be harder. Thank you November. Harban Said. She felt as if she had been holding her breath since the Ahrenschub had arrived. Now that the tension was falling off, she could have fallen asleep where she stood. My pleasure, Captain. The pilot answered before flipping the plane skywards again and began to climb. She believed them.